is still important and still very honored to see you all today, to have you here, to get to know this very important resources for help citizens to reclaim democracy. And today, we're not going to have the writers, initiators of this handbook, Ms. Isabel Hou. She is the co-founder of Gauss School 001, and also Tiff Lin, one of the co-editors of this handbook. They're gonna demonstrate us the experience and help us to get to know how we can use this handbook. And also, we will have the contributors of this handbook, Ms. Sonja Fischbauer. And she is the very important and experienced strategist from Open Knowledge Foundation from Germany. And she plays a very important role of providing us the perspective of Germany. We also have help you enjoy the handbook. And now I'm gonna share the floor to Isabel. And I'm gonna ask my colleague Ziqing to now share the slides. I'll hand over the floor to you, Isabel.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for everyone. Let me introduce myself with 3 keywords. I'm a lawyer, and now I spend a lot of time on AI governance, and also I'm a mom of 3 kids. I joined the open source community in early 2000, and in 2012, I started to work with CEO Gao and the IPA to build this civic tech community called GovZero in Taiwan. So today, I'm going to show you uh, a case which is not shown in the handbook, but I think it's actually the foundation of all what's happened in the handbook in Taiwan, including the handbook itself. So please to switch to next slides. So first step, what's GovZero? GovZero is a community. It's not organization. We include a lot of different individuals and also organizations, and sometimes even the government agency will come to join us. So we have this manifesto which describes what we are. So we come from everywhere. We are polycentric community of self-organized contribution. We are citizens collaborating to bring about change. We live open source. We have fun and want to change the status quo. We are you. So these are some keywords I want to emphasize. It's everywhere, collaboration, open source, change the status quo, and very important one is fun. Next slide, please. So the 3 keywords of this community is open source, civic activism, and also public spirits. But how can we build this community and last for more than 12 years? I think it is the foundation is a bi-monthly hackathon. We host every 2 months since uh, 2012. So we just finished the 68 hackathons last Sunday, which is 2 days ago. So we have this hackathon from 9:30 to a.m. to 9:30 p.m. And this time we actually also invite people to join remotely from Silicon Valley and also people in Europe. Next slide. Next slide, please. So there are a lot of different projects in the handbook, but I think I want to emphasize what's a ecosystem in this community is contributors, open source resources, and project, and also hackathons. So the contributors create an open source project, and they come to the hackathons to to collaborate together. That's the ecosystem to maintain the things going on and evolve. Next slide, please. So what exactly we do in the hackathon, it doesn't change from since 2012. Uh, it's a first thing you enjoy the delicious food. Actually, it's not only the food; it's also the vibe and also the fun and the spirits. To know people you don't know before. So I want to emphasize this is because I think it's very important that to keep the event interesting. Because I always think what we are competing is not some different political um, opinions. But it's actually you are competing with going shopping or going hiking because people um, will want to spend their time there, especially their leisure time, to collaborate on social issue together. If it is not fun, they will not do this at the first place. So I think then the people enjoy the event is essential and very, very important. And because for the Taiwanese people, food is very important. So we always have delicious food when we host a hackathon. And then the first thing is open source and Slack channels. So you can learn things there. And we have this proposals for different projects, and we invite people to join the project at the sites. Next slides, please. So I already spent too much time on delicious food, so maybe next. So actually, we have a lot of open course for the newbies because we started this School 01. It's a project which we summarize all of our experiences, and we invite the GovZero participants to record and teach the newbies about what they did. So it's actually some documentaries and also some documentations for what happened in the past 12 years. And people can learn from that. We host summer school, online summer school every summer. So we actually want to invite young generations to join the community. So for the newbies, they will have access to these open courses and then learn what happened in the community. Next, please. And we also try to teach the newbies how to pitch because at the beginning of every hackathon, we will have these sessions for people to pitch their ideas. So people will share their ideas and their project status to invite the participants in the hackathon to join them. So for the newbies, maybe they have new ideas, but they don't really know how to pitch. So we provide them pitch tutorials and template. And then that makes it easier for them to do the first pitch. And we have a very young people to pitch. I think as young as 9-year-old. So it's actually is something very fun and also we always have fun to see the newbies to pitch. Next slides, please. And then because we have a lot of different projects in the past, and some of them already fail, but the people can still have access to all the documentaries and documentations about the projects. So if they are interested in the project, they can also re, um, just try to restart the project by themselves, or they can join the project which is still ongoing. Next. I think it's next. Okay, so that's my sharing today. So I think because the hackathon is consistently hosted every 2 months, so we have actually more than like 150 participants every time. So it's like thousands of people come to have the experiences in the hackathon. And even they don't stay in the civic in the GovBureau community, many of them also start their own project and their own organizations in Taiwan and even abroad. Like we have GovBureau hackathon in Silicon Valley recently, and we used to have some GovBureau style gathering in London. So it's about approach and the methodology that we can keep people to collaborate together. And I think we have summarized all these experiences in the handbook. So I hope this will be helpful for all of people who have the desire to start something by themselves together. So I will start here. Thank you.
Thank you, Isabel. That is very comprehensive presentations, and of course, food is one of the spice to encourage such collaboration, and that is very important to show us that in this community, we can energetically and flexibly use every element to encourage such collaboration, and that's the spirit of this community. And next, we're gonna invite Tiff, one of the co-editors of this handbook, who did a lot of efforts to transfer the handbook into a very helpful and usable resources to everybody. So Tiff now is going to show you how you can actually use this handbook and to empower more citizens and even our next generations. Please, the floor is yours, Tiff.
Hi everyone, and thank you for joining today's online event for the release of the Civic project and community handbook. I'm Tiff Lin, co-editor of the handbook, and I was the project manager of the GovZero School 01 project, which focuses on digital citizenship education. Am I excited to share how this resource can support digital citizenship education for youth, for educators, and for civic tech communities? And in this presentation, I will walk through a few key questions. The first one is, what is digital citizenship education about, and why we started this project, and the framework of the digital citizenship literacy. And then I will share what resources are included in this handbook and how we can use them. So GovZero Josong started the digital citizenship education project we call School 01 in 2020. At that time, on the community side, we need more youth participants and clear guides for newcomers by transforming the GovZero experience. On the school side, many teachers and students feel powerless in the face of the rapid tech changes. Definition of the digital citizenship literacy are still fragmented, and teaching methods are not well developed. And at that time, there are two opportunities here. The first one is the pandemic has accelerated digital learning, and Taiwan's new education syllabus encourage self-direct learning, real-world connection, and tech application. This is the perfect moment for civic tech and education to come together. So GovZero starts to think what civic tech community can do something. And this slide shows what a student's learning journey might look like in GovZero School 01. We divide this process into three key stages. First is learning and connecting with the real world, and then applying what they have learned through the real projects. At the beginning, students participate in a variety of online and offline activities, including online open courses, workshops, and summer camps. Through these experiences, they are introduced to the core concept of Civic, project case studies, and technical tools. And if they are already have some project ideas, they can also join our project incubation competition to get support. We are also working with schools to create more opportunity for more students, offering civic tech courses that integrate digital citizenship into the formal education systems. For students who wish to go further, we invite them to step into the GovRoad community. In the community, they can join hackathons, interact with others in online platform, and meet many people with different backgrounds. This is where they can encounter the real world issues and explore real digital tools and solutions. Finally, we encourage the students to apply what they have learned, either by joining a civic tech project or starting their own project. Some even take a step further by becoming student guides or be a teacher for open courses to share their experience back to the community. In this way, the journey becomes a full circle, from learner to civic tech hackers, and eventually to become a mentor who can open source their own experience for newcomers. Over the past 5 years of GovRoad School 01, we have worked closely with community contributors, educators, and learners. Through ongoing dialogue and experiences, we gradually develop our definition and framework of digital citizenship literacy. Digital citizenship literacy is not just about how to use technology. More importantly, it's about how to participate in digital society safely, responsibly, and consciously. In our framework, this literacy is developed across three levels. The first one is personal level, to access and analyze information, for example, managing digital footprints, understanding privacy, and recognizing misinformation. And the next level is communication, collaboration, and digital creation. How we work with others, solve problems, and reflect on the ethics and while using technology. And the last one is network level, understanding our responsibility as digital citizens, engaging in civic action, protecting rights, and shaping inclusive digital spaces. If you want to explore further, the handbook includes detailed learning indicators for each level, along with example courses and activities to support implement. In this handbook, we also collected a lot of global insights that we found based on GovRoad School 01 and Civitech contributors' experiences. Through these conversations, several key ideas became very clear. The first one is digital citizenship education should be provided to all age groups with different backgrounds as a part of digital inclusion. And the second one is an interconnected ecosystem. The essential role of government, society, schools, and families in digital citizenship education. They are all very important. Next one is digital citizen literacy, that we should focus more on citizenship than digital. And the next one is that we should emphasize practice and action in digital citizenship literacy. And then to integrate digital citizenship education into the current educational mechanisms to increase students' participation is very important. And the last one is to enhance international collaboration to learn from one another, share resources, and improve together is also very important. And beyond high-level insights, this handbook also captures practical, grounded experience. It shares GovRoad's principles and step-by-step approaches to initiating communities and civic tech projects, along with related case examples. It also includes civic tech case studies and lessons from Japan, Korea, Southeast Asia, and Germany. And thank you for FNF To support this handbook, we expanded the content to include a dedicated section of digital citizenship education. This covers the framework itself, diverse practices from around the world, and reflections and suggestions from young participants. But this handbook is not only for reading. We also provide learning sheets for you to practice. So when you read the book, you also can use learning sheet to initiate a project, community, or even a digital citizenship project by our guidance. So if you are civic tech organizations or communities, this handbook provides practical guidance for you to build and grow communities and how to initiate civic tech projects from the ground up. And the next is we provide global insight to help refine your strategies and deepen your collaboration practice. And also, we provide a set of international case studies and tours for engaging young people and promoting digital citizenship literacy with your work. We hope these resources inspire action, reflection, and new collaboration in your local context. And this handbook was also designed with young people and educators in mind. For a young generation, this handbook offers accessible entry points for getting involved in civic tech and highlights inspiring youth-led projects from around the world and encourage you to explore how digital tools can become part of your voice and action in shaping society. For educators, this handbook helps you to bring the real-world civic tech example into the classroom, connecting learning with society. It also supports the integration of civic tech into PBL, project-based learning, student project, or ICT courses, enriching learning with social relevance. And it also provides a foundation for teaching digital citizen literacy as an everyday life practice. In the age of AI, digital citizenship education is more urgent than ever. It's not just about using technology, it's about using the technology responsibly, consciously, and with purpose. We believe that all the citizens have power to collaborate together and use the digital tools to solve some social problem. So we want to invite you to join us to use this handbook to rethink, to practice, and to share digital citizenship education together. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tiff. First of all, thank you again for creating such wonderful resources. And we see that it's very well organized, and almost everybody. I don't think that anyone will find difficult to use that. And I think it's quite important to keep inspiring such initiative. And next, we're gonna invite Matt from United States, and he is also the curator of Civic Tech Field Guide. And now he's gonna share with us from his perspectives. Particularly now is in the era of we facing a lot of challenges in democracy and also open data, civic tech. From his perspective, how this handbook can be helpful for everybody. So now we're gonna as well share the slide for him. Okay. Matt, just let me know when you're gonna have the next one.
Thanks, Yahweh. Hi, everyone. My name is Matt Stempek. As Yahweh mentioned, I curate something called the Civic Tech Field Guide. Maybe next slide, please. So this is the largest collection of civic and democracy tech projects in the world. Since 2016, we've crowdsourced over 12,000 now tools, organizations, programs that support and upgrade our democracies. And this is all open data and open source code. So take a look. But I'm here to celebrate the launch of this handbook because I think it's more important than ever that we take a global perspective in our work. I think this handbook's a great contribution to building our field because it summarizes 12 years worth of learnings from the GovZero and broader civic tech communities. Next slide, please. Just wanted a quick shout out. The GovZero community has been an inspiration globally. I remember first time I came across it was, I think, about 10 years ago in New York City, where GovZero members came and taught us Americans how tools like Polis and the V-Taiwan process could more meaningfully include people in co-creation of policy. And then I saw it in person at GovZero Summit in Taipei with hundreds of energetic volunteers making the event happen. And then as recently as this year, at the opening reception of the AI Action Summit in Paris, where Audrey Tang drew applause after her every remark, applying the spirit of the GovZero manifesto to public AI. So GovZero's led the way in community organizing methods that work and bringing outsider energy to the civic tech movement, and their success converting that energy into projects that affect public life. And this handbook, for me, is basically a blueprint of how to do the same. Next slide, please. So the Civic Tech Field Guide's mission statement since 2016 has been to grow the field in a productive direction. I think my co-founder Mika Sifri came up with it, if I recall correctly. And it goes nicely with this line from the GovZero manifesto, which is, we want to have fun and change the status quo. Having fun is key to building and sustaining a community, but changing the status quo is how that community becomes much more than a social group, for example. And for many techies, myself included, building software is sometimes easier than building community. So fortunately, this handbook gives us GovZero's blueprint of how to build a civic tech community. It's also well-timed with this launch, because I think we need to reinvent and reinvest in community again. Even before this current crisis in democracy, the global civic tech community has had setbacks. In the US, Code for America pivoted away from its brigade program, which has supported lots of local groups. COVID destroyed a lot of our events and community infrastructure, not just the hacking meetups, but also even the community spaces that hosted them shut down. And even our own social behaviors of getting together with strangers on weeknights. And then Code for All lost its dedicated staff. So I was heartened to read in this handbook that Code for Korea actually started as a community response to COVID. And it shows the idea that the idea of civic tech is resilient and that societal problems can actually spark our collective action. Next slide, please. Again. Next slide, please. Great. So I wanted to echo Tiff's presentation and applaud the GovZero school program, because if we want to grow this civic tech sector, I think it's our responsibility to show up throughout the educational system. What you're looking at here are some of our categories and tags in the Civic Tech Field Guide that basically follow where people have introduced civic tech into the educational system at all levels. These are linked, so you can get a copy of the slides to click through, or I can put links in the chat afterwards. But something we try to inventory is to promote and help people borrow these open educational resources. So that includes informing teachers, providing educational materials for them, and then being on campus in person and spending time with students. I think part of our work, those of us who work in this field, is to let them know that this field exists and that it needs their talents and energy. So the handbook also details the digital citizenship, literacy, and programs that engage youth in schools. I think this is critical. In the Civic Tech Field Guide, we consider these foundational layers, civic literacy and digital literacy. Nothing above that, civic tech-wise, will work unless we have those two foundational layers. When we started the Public Interest Tech Fellowship at Cornell, or whenever I get to guest lecture to students at university or graduate courses, they're always really excited that this field exists and often didn't know that it exists. And I think it's not always obvious how you find a job or a sustainable role in this field, but if you can, and you can, I think we're lucky to do this because we get to combine, exciting new tech for a meaningful fight for our democracies. Slide, please. So back to the mission statement, the second half of it is growing in a productive direction. Our mission is not just to make this work more popular, but also for that work to have meaning. And that means learning from what works and what doesn't. And this handbook covers how to initiate a civic tech project, how to assess one, and then the benefit of hackathons, for example, for developing community and other more mature product development processes. And I think it arrives at a really important moment in this crisis of democracy that we're facing, because many of us sought out to reform and improve our democratic institutions, and they're now being eroded and attacked quite aggressively. So if we want to save them, or even if we want to replace them with something better, we are going to need to be much more effective operators. We need to shift from inspirational examples and single one-off apps to projects that address the acute urgency and rapid response needs of our world today. We need to find a better balance of the insider-outsider tension in civic tech, which is discussed in the update on civic tech in Taiwan in this handbook, for example. And there's this tension where we're stuck in improving and defending broken systems from within when we ourselves set out to fix these systems, or we're outside and we can more freely innovate and advocate, but we have less connection to the impact. So we need to figure out and also scale programs that have figured out to connect the outside civic tech groups with good government partners. Now, the US is not the whole world, fortunately, and not every country's democracy is in an acute crisis at the moment, thankfully. But the ripple effects of what's happening in my country are real, especially if you look at multilateral institutions like the UN or the OECD or the World Bank. The US is leveraging its donor status to force changes in how we work. So I'd argue we need to mobilize now. There's shrinking space for this free discussion. And it's not just cutting funding and disrupting funding in our sector, which is already having disastrous effects, but also direct attacks on the groups that do work for social good, on the efforts to conduct basic journalism, trying to establish the core facts of reality that our collective decision-making depend on. Frankly, if you're working to address or progress any of the UN Sustainable Development Goals right now, you might be a target. And I feel like it's going to get worse before it gets better. So what I'd like to share today is this is a time for courage. It's not a time to sit on the sidelines or hide, because I think they'll find us anyway. So one thing to consider is, we're sometimes scared of exerting our power because we think we'll lose it. But what if right now is the most power that we will have? How would that change what we do? We need courage, and we also need more effective strategies. So slide, please. One thing I really appreciated reading this handbook was that it provides a timely snapshot of the current status of civic tech communities in several key countries. And that multinational perspective and the comparative view of civic tech is really helpful. I'm grateful to be at this event with my colleagues and peers from Taiwan, Korea, Germany, and Thailand, and to the FNF, the foundation for hosting us. This is something we try to do in the Civic Tech Field Guide with our global curator program, where people volunteer to share what's happening locally so we get a better global sense and can share it. But I know a lot of people are saying, if we're busy fighting fascism at home, why should we look outside our own country right now? Why be curious at a time like this? And I'd argue there's many benefits to comparative civic tech like those in this handbook. First of all, it can help us on a very practical level. We can find open source code to run a platform, or detailed cases of projects that worked really well that we can try to run locally. But it also offers inspiration on how to get the job done. If you're looking to be effective, I think it's worth looking to our peers around the world to see who's at the top of their game in that department. For example, the world has looked to Taiwan for a golden example of how a protest movement can directly inform collective participatory policymaking. Estonia has been a pioneer in effective e-government and the digital state. Spain's city-level digital participation platforms have sparked international collaboration that invests in open source ecosystems and overcomes national and linguistic divides in co-developing those. And then we look to Brazil, not just for inventing participatory budgeting, but also driving massive scale modern digital versions of it. So just to name a few, I think a global perspective gives us very real practical linkages that make our efforts more effective. Slide, please. But then lastly, and not least, on an immaterial level, I think these regional and global connections offer us camaraderie. And that might sometimes feel indirect, but over the long term, I think it's even more vital to sustaining our efforts. This work can be lonely, fighting entrenched systems and getting no thanks for it sometimes, depending where we are. And knowing that there are others in the same fight is a spiritual boon to our efforts. So even better when we get to spend time together. This handbook lays out in rich detail how to do both those things. First, how to build and maintain a civic tech community. And second, how to interface our efforts with sometimes uncaring governments or sometimes actively antagonistic governments that we have to partner with. So compared to many of the centralized powers that we're fighting against, whether those are autocrats or tech monopolies, we are inherently decentralized. But I like how Isabel put it better, which is polycentric, because decentralized doesn't mean that we're not networked together. And as someone who signs up for basically every email newsletter that he finds, I've long admired that the GovZero community, I think mostly through its international task force, has been one of the absolute best at doing international outreach, which has included translating their work so it can reach more of the global community, traveling to show up on conferences in other continents, and staying up late at online events like this one to share in other time zones. And I just want to say that that does not go unrecognized. So this handbook is a great resource to help the rest of us learn what's working and how to do it ourselves. I look forward to helping get it into more hands and expanding and refining it over time. And seeing that it's open source, maybe we can all even contribute our own chapters on what works in the years ahead. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Matt. We really feel extremely encouraged about your comments about this handbook. I mean, Tiff and Isabel and the whole Gov0 Zhou team spent really a lot of a great amount of time transferring all the knowledge and experience into usable resources. And I believe that they will be really happy to hear this. And I do hope that. Thank you, thank you, Matt. Again, we're really sorry about the technical issue today, but we will really appreciate if you still stay online. That please do have a look of the handbook, and we will send you the video recording today. And anyways, we do hope that you can check the handbook because it really will offer you many practical experience that can help you every season to reclaim democracy. And so next, we're gonna invite some contributors of the handbook to give us a glance of the contents of the handbook, particularly those successful cases around the world. And first, we're gonna start from travel from Germany. So we're gonna invite Sonia to share with us what best practices in Germany has been included in this handbook and how this handbook can be usable in the context in Germany and the globe. So I want to check whether Sonia is connected.
Can you hear me? I hope that you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
That is very good. Hi. I'm back in Berlin now after spending several months in Taiwan, which were really a really great time, having had a chance to meet you not only in person at last year's Gov0 Summit, but also just earlier this year. My name's Sonia. I am calling in from Berlin today. I work at the Open Knowledge Foundation Germany, which is the mother organization or the host of the Civic Tech Network Code for Germany. And as a volunteer, I am the president of the board of Wikimedia Austria, the NGO behind the volunteers that fill Wikipedia, Wikidata, Wikicommons with content. I'll share a couple of things that we contributed to the handbook, a couple of things that have worked or that we have encountered as challenges in Germany. On the next slide, I have summed up a couple of those points.
Sure. Yeah.
That's the one. Perfect. Germany has a long tradition of strong civil society organizations. There's my organization, the Open Knowledge Foundation Germany, that hosts the Civic Tech Network Code for Germany, but also runs programs tailored to digital citizenship education and helps to enforce people's rights of access to freedom of information. We have Wikimedia Germany, a sister organization to Wikimedia Austria, but much bigger because Germany is such a big country with 80 million inhabitants. And we have the Chaos Computer Club, a hacker organization that came together in the 1980s that has a very political view on the tech world. And all of that, compared with a strong volunteering tradition in Germany, contributes to a very vocal civil society. But unlike in other countries, the network, for example, like Code for Germany, needs to be managed with a very light touch. Coming from my perspective as a point of contact for the community myself for a couple of years, our volunteers like to choose the topics that they work on very much by themselves and benefit, at least in the recent years, since the community has been there for over a decade, benefit from a very light touch from us as an organization. They cover a variety of topics from like hardware to software. Some of them engage rather in political advocacy. And instead of working on specific civic tech solutions, they show their engagement by engaging with their local politicians, engaging in their local communal administration, and having talks there, lobbying and advocating for open data and open government. We have some examples of community and government collaboration or of civil society and government collaboration. In the handbook, there are some examples given, like the Wir versus Virus hackathon. That's like half German, half English, and that translates to us versus the virus. That was a big hackathon that was organized in part by civil society and in part by the German government during the pandemic. And that got a lot of attention, about 12,000 participants. And that sparked, it was sort of like a good moment and a bad moment all in one, because it was empowering to see that we can do something, but it also created, at least in our very progressive and vocal and often very much like left-leaning community, the criticism that the government uses tech in a way, or like tech solutions in a way that fetishizes innovation at the cost of infrastructure. For example, one of the challenges we've had in the civic tech area in Germany is that you will get always funding for new projects, and then these new projects that are there and have their core code open and accessible are never fully like taken in by the government, who would have the capacity to provide a more long-term solution. And we do have some very successful examples as well. For example, the Prototype Fund, which is an open source funding program where a team of dedicated civil society people and jurors help spend government money for open source solutions. And the Sovereign Tech Agency, formerly the Sovereign Tech Fund, is something that came up also during the time of the pandemic as a means of like making Germany more independent from overseas funding and from overseas technology solutions. And that will fund public interest technology. We have some systemic challenges as well. For example, that federal data policies, for example, open data laws in Germany, are very fragmented. And you'd think of Germany as a very advanced country when it comes to digitalization and technology, but that doesn't always translate to how the administration is run and what the like digital capacities are of people in the administration. But we have made some successful some successes, some successful strides into establishing connections on with certain people in political power by advocating for open data and open government, and very often through personal connections at first, and then through establishing more systemic laws, we will hopefully get to a better future. And I'm going to end on a quote on the next slide, giving a little preview for a publication that the Open Knowledge Foundation just launched. By the time I wrote the slide, it was still upcoming, but now it is You can find it if you search for From Software to Society. Openness, not neutral. Advocates of openness need to recognize and actively engage in potentially politically charged discussions. That's what we're doing right now. Openness itself is not neutral. It is a political term. And like a good friend of mine recently said, never let a crisis go to waste. Now is a good time to demonstrate our resilience. And following the leading example of what civil society is doing in Taiwan and sharing stories from across the globe, I think that's what we can do. And I think we're on the right track.
Thank you so much, Sonia. I really like the last quotations, and I think that very well reflect the spirit of Gatsby. It encourage decentralized, it encourage openness, but that doesn't mean that we stand neutral on everything. We encourage activism to take action to change the status quo that you are not satisfied with. And please do share with us your publication. And I believe that we will be deeply inspired by it. We're looking forward to see your article being published. Once again, thank you very much, Sonia. And next, we're going to travel to Korea. Our colleagues, our colleagues in Korea office, thank you for sharing with us the publication, Sonia. Thank you so much. We're gonna send it to all the audience as well. Next, our colleague Solon, she will share with us some best practices in Korea that is covered by this handbook, and she will also share with us how this handbook can be useful in the context of Korea and the globe.
Hi everyone. Thank you so much for the introduction, Yahweh. It's a pleasure for me to join this event. I have to admit that I was struggling a little bit to log in, even though I've been working in smart city and digitalization for many years, but it's still this technical challenge is not always easy when you are not used to the tools.
But sorry about that, Solon.
No worry. But it really it came through at the last minute, so I'm so happy to be part of you. So let me just quickly jump on my parts. Today I would like to share like best practices in South Korea, which were basically introduced in the handbook. So I chose three best practice that we had in South Korea, even if South Korea is very different from Germany. And maybe Korea is pretty much advanced with digitalization, and many people, we are very receptive to digital tools, and we are very happy to use it. And so that's a little bit different from the European background, because we are very used to technological advance, but we are not very familiar with the bottoms up approach. But still, nonetheless, I'm very happy to share three cases. So let me start with the first, maybe most well-known civic tech practice in South Korea. This is the public mask app. This was developed during the early months of the COVID-19 pandemic. The and during the first month of the COVID-19 pandemic, the South Korean government has launched public mask distribution system, which is very good because at the time, the public mask was in a great shortage. So everyone was struggling to get it. So when the government introduced the distribution system, people said, wow, it's good. So that's the end of the suffering. But then the story shows that it is not the end of the story, but it starts because people didn't know where to find the mask available. So they simply didn't know which pharmacies actually had the mask in stock. So as a result, the people waited in long line, even during the sometimes in freezing cold weather without any guarantee that they would be able to buy one. But then this volunteer group of developers, they came up to claim the government should release the public data on the inventory of public masks. So once the Korean government has released the real-time inventory data, then this group of voluntary developers, they built an online map showing the mask availability nationwide. That was definitely that reduced the public anxiety, and then help the people to easily secure the mask. So that is one of the best examples that's showing that how open data and civic tech could serve the society when the time of need, and that was done by the Code of Korea. The second example is the map of Gazette that was also done by the Code of Korea, and this one is launched first by the Code of Korea, but then later it was so successful that it was later taken up and supported by the government agency. So the project actually collects and analyzes the official document published by all 243 local governments in Korea. It visualizes how transparent and digitally accessible each municipality is when it comes to sharing public information. That project actually helps citizens to identify the gaps between different regions and encourage greater accountability from local institutions. And the last one, terrorists or terrorless. That project launched in 2023 after a wave of random stabbing by the knife threats, which caused widespread public fear in Korea. I mean, South Korea is generally considered as very safe country. So when we had this random stabbing, random crime targeting random public happened in 2023, people got panicked. So four university students just created real-time alert map based on online reports and police updates. Users could also submit their own alerts. So that map was so successful that on its first day, the platform drew over 50,000 users on the first day, showing that this kind of simple civic tech tools actually contribute to the public safety. Um, so especially in urgent situations. So that is what we did as a best practice in Korea. And now I just briefly want to share what we have as democratic challenges in Korea and how this handbook and our civic tech initiative actually could contribute to easing democratic challenges in South Korea. South Korea, like many other democracies, is going through very tough challenges. A lot of people do not really trust the government anymore. They feel that public institutions are politically influenced by politics and not really working for the public. So even when the citizens are asked to participate, it doesn't feel like they don't care much about the voice, their opinions. So at the same time, more and more people, especially young people, they are losing interest in politics. They don't see how this politics connects to their daily problems like jobs, housings, educations. So many people, many young people, they choose just stay away from the political discussions or don't get involved, maybe beyond voting. Also, there is more problematic thing is like there is more conflict, like growing conflicts between different generations and political groups. So that means that people often see each other as opponents, not as people to work with. And therefore, it's so naturally, it's getting very hard and harder to have very open and respectable conversations on social, maybe controversial issues, including political and social topics. So altogether, this environment actually weakens democratic accountability, but at the same time, our social cohesion. It leaves many citizens feel very powerless and unsure of how to make their voices heard. In this context, I think Civic Tech and Community Handbook, like the books we are launching proudly today, um, offer a very powerful way to address these democratic challenges. Like that helps actually citizens solve their real problems. Maybe like making the mask shortage problems and public information problems, or like safety concerns. People can really feel that they can rebuild the trust and show also feel that democracy can start from the bottom up. Um, but also, civic tech actually gives the young people, especially young generations, very new ways to engage outside the very traditional politics. I mean, through data, design, and collaboration. Also, with a lot of fun to collaborate. So I believe um, this handbook and also our Civic Tech initiative can actually support citizens in becoming everyday agents of democracy of today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Son. I like what you said that every citizen become the agent of democracy. I think that's a very well interprets the spirit of 0V. And I really echo what you just mentioned that the distrust in the society, I think it's not just up here in Korea, it's also up here globally. So I think the most important things is the transparency and being willing to share to let everybody knows what kind of ideas you have and to enable everybody to understand each other. And by doing so, we can decrease those opportunities of having this distrust in the society. Once again, thank you, Son, for sharing your ideas. And next, we are going to travel to Thailand. And our colleague, Mary, she is also one of the members of the civic tech and digital democracy communities in Thailand. She is not just our colleague, she's also the co-founder of COFAC in Thailand. That is also a open source fact-checking initiative that is introduced in our handbook. So I believe that she has a lot of experiences and ideas that she's gonna share with us why this handbook is important and the civic tech projects and communities are the power for enhancing democracy. So Mary, I'll just hand over the floor to you.
Thank you very much, Yahweh. Hello, everyone. Hello, Susan. Yeah. Thank you for having me for the launch of the Civic Tech Project and Community Handbook. I have received the book well and read it through. Um, and I'm so happy to have two projects like Civic Tech Project in this handbook. And one, I think you have elect there. And also you just mentioned COFAC Thailand, which was inspired by COFAC Taiwan, actually. We want to have fun and we want to have like a fact checker community in Thailand. But first thing first, maybe I will share with you a bit about elect. what it is, and why it's included in the handbook on civic tech and the community. Elect was the project that we FNF in Thailand um, saw its potential of civic participation at that time, because like if you look at Thailand and you see the political history in our country, like we have been under military rule for like from time to times, and it was like a long 8 years that we have been under the military rule. And when we first know that we're gonna have election, the excitement in the society was bringing a lot of people like civil societies, media, um, tech, like designer. I mean, they came together and discussed like how are we going to use that opportunity um, for civic engagement, like to make voting so transparent, especially the information of your candidates, and even the vote counting on the voting day. So it's the elect is a combination of media, journalists, tech designer, like together in one goal, and they have the back then, like more than 10 years ago, they use like technology, data visualization, storytelling, all combining, just to give um, voter education on the candidates. And also they went live on the election day so that we can monitor, like the election can be transparent for everyone. And I think that what Elect did in 2019, 18, 19, inspired a lot of media outlets here in Thailand to do the live counting, like for citizens to engage on the election day. When you have to go to vote, right, in your constituency, you can actually monitor at the end whether there is any tricks, there is anything that it didn't go the way you want it to be, like the way it should be, free and fair election. So you can monitor and send your information, directly to elect. But now, like all like Thai PBS or other media organizations here in Thailand, they do the same. But I think the starting point of election, the vote counting live, was elect then in 2019, the election. And it has inspired a lot of organizations to do more on data visualizations, storytelling, and all that. So it's the big community here as well in Thailand. I don't know whether Vivix Elect has spin off so many organizations doing data visualizations and storytelling. Sometimes on like national budgeting, because we want it to be transparent, right? That is one project that is included in the Civic Tech Handbook, and very good one. I very thankful to our colleague who have elect here in your handbook. And the one that I like to focus more is COFAC Thailand. Actually, COFAC has a delegation to Taiwan last year, and we actually joined your GovZero Summit. And we met also Audrey Tang there. And when we launched COFAC Thailand in 2019, we actually invited Audrey here to give a keynote, like to tell us what how it works in Taiwan, like how you can have fun and you can have a community of fact checkers, like how can you meet every Wednesday, right? If I'm not mistaken, and you can have pizza, enjoy, and have like productive conversation on like misinformation and like all relevant information. So COFAC Thailand was inspired really by COFAC Taiwan. In the beginning, we wanted to do exactly the same. We have the COFAC bot, like we have Line, so that everyone can just send information that they are not sure, like whether it's fake or fact, and then send it to Line channel, and then we have our editorial team to fact check. And also, but because it I think best practice in Taiwan may not like all work in Thailand. So we want to follow every step, like COFAC Taiwan did. But then sometimes it didn't work the way we planned. So we have chatbot for everyone, like to send in information, and we have at the back end we have a group of editorial team to check, and all our editorial teams members are journalists or former journalists. So they there is like quite a big community back end as well, like to fact check all the information. But then we are more like a community based, like fact checking organizations. And we grow as a community of fact checkers. I can say like partly tech driven, but then partly is like community driven. And why we set up COFAC in the beginning, I think we discussed a lot about the global phenomenon of misinformation, and we understand that it's bright side, like it's the bright side of technology that we can actually make use of it, and then we want to have a hero as well, like on technology to debunk or pre-bunk, like all the bad information coming in. So that is the starting point of COFAC. Like we want to emphasize on the bright side of technology to fight, like the dark side of it. So yeah, and we still looking at Golf Zero and COFAC Taiwan as our role model for like growing fact checkers community, and the digital literacy part of your handbook can be very useful for COFAC Thailand to follow. And I think the handbook itself giving like a practical and actionable insight of everyone or every group that would like to become a civic tech or a civic tech community in Thailand or elsewhere. And I think it's also if an it's I think civic tech community can actually open way to fight, like the limitation of freedom of expressions, like the one we face here in Thailand. I don't think I think Thailand we face lack of freedom of expressions, and also limited platform for participations. So civic tech community is actually an answer to that, so if we have more and more and if we can strengthen the civic tech communities here in Thailand, then perhaps we can actually open up the way for freedom of expressions, and also and inclusive society like we want Thailand to be. Thank you very much, Yahweh.